Movie critic Darren Franich used to read Punisher comics when he was little, and yet expected exactly what you shouldn't expect from a Punisher show. He's pretty wrong. What's up, you guys? If it's your first time here, make sure you click that subscribe button and the little notification bell right next to it. Also, once you've finished watching the video, we'd love to hear what you thought of Marvel's The Punisher and what you think of this idiot's review. Let's take a look at it. How can The Punisher be such a snooze? Offensive, ultra-violent, morally bankrupt. That comes with the territory. Were you saying all of that stuff that was in there was boring? Because it was there. It's pretty morally bankrupt and violent. There's some stuff that's a bit offensive. I don't see myself watching it with Mom. Not again. Frank Castle is a man with a skull shirt. You know, there was a musician named Wesley Willis who was clinically insane, who described Superman as having an S on his chest. You did the same thing as a clinically insane musician. So, thumbsies. Frank Castle is a man with a skull shirt who fires big guns at bad guys. It got worse. And they go pew 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 pew. So you could say the new Netflix Punisher show is ill-timed. Why? Were there a lot of people with skull shirts? I'm confused. Oh, because of the violence. Right. Okay. I got it. You know, once all the violence in the world goes away, we can finally get our comic book show. It's not gonna happen anytime soon. I'm not causing it, but you know, sorry. But when is the right moment to release a TV series about a heroic mass shooter? When it's finished? Anyhow, I'm not the one to moralize. Oh, you're not? Because that was the entire opening of your bullshit. I was maybe 7 years old when I was reading my older brother's copies of all 3 monthly Punisher comics. I read all that stuff, loved it, and now I'm a grown man who knows that guns are pointless death machines. It's a comic book. I mean, I was a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was young, but now I'm older, and I'm not hanging out in the sewers with strange women anymore. I take them to the strip club like a normal person. Reading The Punisher didn't make me violent, but watching The Punisher sure made me bored, so it stopped violence. Alright, tick 1 down for The Punisher. I'm not gonna keep that tick thing going, because I'm not gonna remember who won. But it's The Punisher. The series begins with Frank on the move, chasing after the Castle Family Killers. Sounds like a traveling singing group. The Castle Family Killers. They all travel together in a bus, sing songs about like sunshine, you know, while murdering. He's crushing heads in Alabama, sniping long distance on the southern border, getting all strangly in a restroom in JFK. It's a riotous high note that the series won't ever hit again. Immediately, Frank throws his Punisher shirt in a fire, the skull shirt, if you remember. the one with the skull on it, that he wears while holding big guns to shoot bad guys. Anyone lost? All right, let's move on. No, Virginia, the Punisher doesn't want to punish anymore. Yeah. I hate character development. The Netflix series wants to dig deep into the character's psychology. The plot's heavy on wartime trauma, the PTSD of our soldier generation. When he served in Afghanistan, Frank was involved in something so bad that the government is involved. So involved that maybe Frank's hobby of killing bad guys for a living is the lesser of 2 evils. You read 3 issues of this every time it came out and you don't understand The Punisher. That's literally, you just explained what this entire character is about. Justice in their own hands is killing, like, are you sure you read it? Or were you using it to hide a porno mag? Porno mag? Who says that? There's a problem here. The Punisher didn't descend into parody. He started as a parody. A hyperbolized version of every Death Wish era vigilante. Decades of comic book history never deepened the character because there's no depth there. Bang bang, get it? That's really not true. Backstory. Deepened. That's not true at all. It would be weird if it was just bang bang. Just shoot the bad guys. You're gonna run out of issues. Like, you can only do so many stories where it's just kill, 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 kill. Eventually, you have to form a singing troupe and travel with your family. So this show wants to be different, wants to be a thoughtful version of the Punisher story. It wants to ground him, take seriously the idea of this man as one emotionally bruised veteran among many. Interesting, but you have to actually take him seriously. What's not being taken seriously in this show? I don't understand this at all, to be honest. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you don't like it. But to be perfectly honest, the stuff that they did concerning what it's like to come out of war situations, how it can affect people, and how it can affect a person whose entire family gets killed, I thought it was done in a very serious manner. It wasn't like, family's dead, bang, 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 skull shirt, bang.
That was Iron Fist. It's okay if I say it.
The show is playing this sensitive game just long enough to absolve the inevitable punishing. Frank spends the whole first episode looking sad, and then he visits an underground bad guy hideout to pull the old lights cut off so the ensuing massacre can begin trick. I really like your descriptions of things. The guy in the skull shirt with the big guns that he uses to shoot bad guys spent the whole first episode looking sad. He looked really sad. Then he turned the lights off so that people couldn't see what he was doing. He was embarrassed. Alright, let's move on. That was weird. That was weird. Alright. An equivalent version of that scene appeared in Lexi Alexander's wonderfully deranged Punisher, Warzone. In hindsight, the Ragnarok of Punisher movies. But I agree. That was a much better one than Dolph Lundgren's, for sure. I mean, I will say that, like, you know, it's really not hard to win in the Punisher war of movies after those two. It's pretty easy. Like, you could literally just like throw things at screens and just hope that things show up and you'd have a better movie than that piece of shit. You could have just taken the movie Shoot 'Em Up and just called it The Punisher. And it would have been better than Dolph Lundgren's Punisher. But the problem here isn't unoriginality, it's the half-hearted execution. I hate that.
I didn't care enough.
You didn't do it well enough. I love what you did, but you didn't do it enough. That's how relationships end. Right, fellas? Mwah, mwah. The whole season's like that first episode, with padded storytelling, eventually broken up by action, just interesting enough to keep you watching. Weird. An action show that storytelling broken up by action. That's odd. Oh, it's not? That's what they all are? Oh. It's not like in the middle of Love Actually when the guy is using the cue cards to show how much he loves Keira Knightley's character. Danny Glover showed up, shot her in the face, and then said, "I'm getting too old for this shit." Cards on the table, I don't think anyone who works on The Punisher really wants to make a show about a dude who spends his whole life shooting people. Then they should work on another show. Yup. So they start their show with the Punisher deciding not to punish anymore, and then they airdrop in various explanatory excuses about why he simply has to do this punishing thing he does. He simply has to, Martha. Sounded like a DC joke to me. I don't really think that they wrote this plot because they didn't want the Punisher killing people. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been killing people. It would have just been like a happy romp. Like he would have had like a weird little teddy bear sidekick or some shit.
That was also Iron Fist.
He's allowed to say that. There's the bad government and mean coworkers. And when in doubt, pull the dead family lever. I don't want it. Sounds like a negotiation tactic. I don't want to pull the dead family lever, but you know what happened last time, Jim. What? Your family died. You know, because of the lever. The Punisher always had a murdered family. The Punisher always had a murdered family. But thanks to Xanax, he can go on What? The Punisher always had a murdered family, but there were comic books that didn't need to mention that every 5 pages, because you knew. Because at that point, you knew. This is telling a story to people who haven't seen the story before. They need to know. And honestly, I feel like it's kind of important. If your whole family was murdered and you kept mentioning it to me, I wouldn't be like, listen, you gotta stop mentioning your dead family to me. It's getting a little tedious. I'd be like, man, this guy went through some shit. I should probably let him let it out. So, stop being a dick and let Frank let it out. And the way the show keeps bringing out those flashbacks feels like a con job, a way to avoid any potentially difficult or interesting questions about Frank's motivations, because he has one. He has pretty much one motivation. There's no real questions to Frank's motivations. His family died, and justice must be served. It's not hard to figure out. So he puts on a little skull shirt, and grabs his big guns and looks for the bad guys. And sometimes he's sad. I admire how the show situates its Punisher within the greater realities of Middle East conflict veterans. But then again, I'm reading way into this. But that's another bluff, another way to self-justify the inevitable insane bloodshed. The Deer Hunter can't be Rambo First Blood Part 2, you know? They don't have to be. They're two different movies. I don't really feel like they're trying to justify anything. Like, it's violent. It's a violent character doing violent things because of violent things that happened to him. If you didn't want to see violence, why did you go for the guy in the skull shirt? Watch a different show that doesn't make sense. Maybe find someone with a fucking rainbow shirt on. You know, like Iron Fist.
You can't say that. That's our word.
There's a parade of bad guy suits, one of whom refers to Frank Castle as the frickin' Punisher. I treasure the odd rating system Marvel has self-imposed with these shows. Lots of headshot spray blood, but no actual gore, thrusty sex scenes with little nudity, and a bad guy who says things like the frickin' Punisher. Do people say frickin'? I say frickin'. That's fine. Also, like, would it have been better if there was a sex scene with tons of nudity? Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. She's pretty gorgeous. And I don't know who that actor is, but he's a looker too, motherfucker. Plus, you clearly didn't see the other shows because there was definitely like nudity in other ones. So watch those if you want the nudity. Should we just splice in the nudity from Jessica Jones into the Punisher? While we're at it, we could splice in some plot into Iron Fist.
You can't say that.
Sorry.
I'm also here.
Trying to ground this character is one thing. Burying him 6 feet under turgid moral justifications is something else. The show has a gray color palette and wants to lean into some notion of morality deeper than guy shoots bad guys. But it can't ever get away from that last part, and by the time it finally embraces it, you'll wonder where the hours went. There's a little bit more than guy shoots bad guys. I don't really feel like it's necessarily justification for what's on the screen or what he's doing. And in fact, I think that that's the whole purpose of having a character like the Punisher. Is he doing the right thing? Is he doing the wrong thing? That's literally the purpose of an anti-hero like that. On the other hand, if you're wondering where the hours went, you watched an entire fucking season of a show. The only time I wonder where the hours went is when I roofie myself, so I can finally masturbate. The Marvel Netflix universe has had a strange year. I tried The Defenders, but then I watched the first scene and decided life's too short for bad fight choreography. Okay, so you didn't watch that. So that kind of gives me an idea of how, you know, seriously you're taking your job. I suspect anyone who sat through all of the brand's 2017 output will appreciate the Punisher as a thing that is better than the Iron Fist. I mean, it's, you know, it's better than the Iron Fist. I can say that. Oh, weird.
That's okay.
But set aside the occasional bullet ballet flourishes and the whiff of government paranoia, and you're left with something that feels like a melancholy riff on some CBS-y procedural like SEAL Team, which isn't bad, but it ain't freaking good. I see what you did there. C+, I get it. And you said frickin' because I get it. It is interesting though. It's like, take out all the things that make the Punisher, and all of a sudden you're left with the CBS show. Yup. I can't say you're wrong, but why would you take that shit out? I mean, you take the cheese, the sauce, and the bread off of your pizza, and what do you have?
You have the Iron Fist.
You can't say that.
I'm Asian.
You don't look like you're Asian.
That's still more action than the Iron Fist.
Can I say something now?
You're like the least Asian person here. Get out of here, you pale ass Iron Fist looking motherfucker. Thank you guys so much for watching. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that little bell right next to it. Also, we'd love to hear what you thought of the Punisher and what you thought of this guy's review. Make sure you put it down in the comments. We will read it. And until we see you guys next time, geek out and game on.